Hi guys, it's Black. Okay, continuing with the percussion revolver series, we're going to talk today about paper cartridges. Now I've set up to start making a bunch of them, to start doing a in-depth on it, and I've started experimenting with it. I contacted Dustin Weiniger and got his excellent cartridge forming set, and I got the entire set that's got the 36 caliber, the little bitty funnel, the 44 caliber, the Dragoon, and then it's got the papers and the lube and everything else in it. And I started doing this, and we're going to do these on camera, and we're going to talk about how this goes together. But in the top of the former, Dustin has put a powder measure. This is this hole right here. And I had someone asking me about it, could you deepen it or whatever? Yes, but now what Dustin's done is he's taken what a 36 caliber paper cartridge was with a conical bullet, or 44 Dragoon, and that's the reason he created that depth. Okay. Now let's talk about that, and that's what really I want to talk about in this video, is about where they got these loads for these paper cartridges. Now, at the time of the war, logistics are a nightmare, because you have the issued firearm that is the primary, let's say the 51 Navy, the 1860 Army, and then the Dragoon revolvers. But there's also all these other revolvers that are in service with units, like the Savage, like the Whitney, the Remingtons. All of those are going to be, you know, slightly different cylinder sizes, slightly different capacity. And so what are we going to do for them? You know, well, the nightmare would be to have specific cartridges for the specific guns. This one only works in the Colt Navy, but will not work in the Savage and will not work in the Whitney, and you see my point. So they had to come up with a cartridge that fulfilled three roles. One, carried a bullet that was viable. Two, generated a sufficient velocity in all the issue guns to be of use on the battlefield. Three, did not waste powder. Powder was at a premium. So if I can do 18 grains instead of 20, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of rounds, that adds up. So they wanted to reduce as much waste as possible. And thus, a lot of the soldiers would load loose if they needed a longer or more powerful load for a given thing. You know, not in the standard of the battle, but that initial volley or whatever, and they would drop back to using the standard cartridge, because that's what was being issued. So let's take, for example, the 36 that had a 17 or 18 grain charge in it. I can easily put 20-22 into my Navy with a paper cartridge. But the Whitney has a smaller cylinder, and 18's about it, you know, where it in the conical bullet fill it up. So they had to load these paper cartridges for the lowest common denominator. It's got to fit the cylinders, whatever's the smallest capacity cylinder, and yet deliver enough power and enough function for actual use on the battlefield. That's where they came up with these loads. Because it wasn't that they had worked out, and I've heard people say they did extensive study and it's the most accurate load. It varies gun to gun as to what is the most accurate load, because of many different factors, forcing cones and rifling and how much it shaved off whenever they loaded it. All of those factors. And so each gun is an individual. You're hitting a general purpose block, okay? So when we create these paper cartridges for use in the field, they can be really good, but you need to make them up and then figure out how accurate they are in your revolver. I'm not saying they're going to be inaccurate, but there may be a more accurate load. Now, in my guns, from this kit that I got from Dustin, has done really, really well. You know, yes, my quote hand load is a shade more accurate, but for what I'm doing, like shooting plates or whatever, perfectly adequate. And that's where this is going to come into being, because for like rabbit hunting, It does fine. It's a small enough group that I can easily stay on my rabbit. I hand load if I'm going to go, there's beer money on and we're going out and shooting targets, trying to do, bullseye groups. I'll put my hand load in there because I can dial it in just a little bit tighter. But with these cartridges, I can put the same conical bullet, which is that Johnson & Dow, into my 58 Remington Sheriff, my 1860 Army. I can put it into my old brass frame Johnny Reb. All will fit into all three of those. See? And the same thing with my 36. My 36 will fit into my 51 Navy, my 61 Navy, and my Whitney, which is the Spiller and Burr. So it becomes very economic for creating cartridges up ahead for in the field for just general target work. And so today, that's where it's a real advantage. And it makes it a little cleaner and quicker to load, and that's the thing we really want, isn't it? I want more of the modern convenience of being at the range and being able to bring it up and put, load, cap, and be done in less than a minute, as opposed to picking up each component and loading. Much more time consuming. And that was the same way it was back in the day. That's the reason they issued these cartridges, for speed of loading in the field. So, to wind this up, paper cartridges are viable today as a carry and as a field load. The question you have to ask is, they're absolutely more convenient, hands down. First, is this given paper cartridge load accurate in my handgun? Try it out. Could I, let's say, for example, in mine, okay, Dustin's loads 18 grains. Suppose that my Colt wants 20 grains. Could I deepen that hole and custom for mine? Absolutely. I'd take a drill bit and just by hand bear down and twist and take out minute amount until I deepened it down to the paper cartridge load that I want to do for my frame. So I could modify this to fit mine, and that may happen down the line, but we shall see. I've got a carrier system that I'm looking at for use that I'll bring up a little bit later, and I've got several other things with the percussion revolver paper cartridges that we're going to be talking about. But that's in an upcoming video. I'll be doing some shooting with them very shortly. So, please leave any questions or comments below, and thank you very much for supporting my channel, guys. Till next time, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.